ExamPrep.School. Texas Adjuster All Lines Insurance Exam, exam code INSTX-ALAdj16. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. General property and casualty product knowledge, insurance terms and related concepts, Texas statutes and rules, pertinent to P&C adjusting. Walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Which peril under the 1943 Standard Fire Policy is covered only while the insured property is being moved to protect it from other insured perils? A. Fire. B. Lightning. C. Removal. D. Explosion. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is removal, because the policy extends coverage for loss to property only while it is being moved to safety from other covered perils. Reason A is not correct. Fire is covered at the described premises and not limited to property in transit. Reason B is not correct. Lightning is a basic covered peril at the insured location, not only during removal. Reason D is not correct. Explosion is not included in the basic policy without an extended coverage endorsement. Question 2. Under the Texas Statutory Appraisal Clause, if the insured's and insurer's appraisers fail to agree on an umpire, who appoints the umpire? A. The Governor of Texas. B. A court of competent jurisdiction. C. The Texas Insurance Commissioner. D. The 2 appraisers jointly. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is that a court of competent jurisdiction appoints the umpire when the 2 appraisers cannot agree, as specified by the statutory appraisal process. Reason A is not correct. The governor has no role in the appraisal appointment process under Texas law. Reason C is not correct. The insurance commissioner does not appoint appraisers or an umpire in the statutory clause. Reason D is not correct. If the 2 appraisers cannot agree, they cannot jointly appoint the umpire without court involvement. Question 3. According to the 1943 Standard Fire Policy, within what time period must an insured submit a sworn proof of loss after a fire loss unless an extension is agreed in writing? A. 30 days. B. 60 days. C. 90 days. D. 1 year. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is 60 days because the policy requires the insured to furnish a sworn proof of loss within 60 days of a fire loss unless the insurer consents to an extension. Reason A is not correct. 30 days is too short and not the period specified in the policy. Reason C is not correct. 90 days exceeds the policy's 60-day requirement. Reason D is not correct. 1 year far exceeds the sworn proof of loss deadline in the basic policy. Question 4. A dwelling insured under a standard fire policy carries a building coverage limit of $160,000 and has an estimated current replacement cost of $200,000. The policyholder requests a replacement cost endorsement. Under the standard fire policy terms, is the property eligible for the replacement cost endorsement? A. Yes, because the insured limit meets the 80% replacement cost coinsurance requirement. B. No, because the endorsement requires a personal liability provision. C. No, because the limit must equal 100% of the replacement cost. D. Yes, because fire policies automatically convert to replacement cost when specified. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the endorsement applies because the insured limit meets the 80% replacement cost coinsurance requirement, which is the minimum threshold for eligibility. Reason B is not correct. This choice is incorrect because the endorsement criteria do not require a personal liability provision. Reason C is not correct. This choice is incorrect because a full 100% limit is not needed to qualify for replacement cost coverage. Reason D is not correct. This choice is incorrect because replacement costs can be endorsed if specified limits meet the coinsurance requirement. Question 5. A landlord purchases a DP1 dwelling policy to cover a rental home. After a fire, the landlord cannot collect rental income for the period the dwelling is uninhabitable. Under the basic DP1 form, which coverage applies to the lost rental income? A. Coverage C, personal property. B. Coverage D, fair rental value. C. Coverage B, other structures. D. Coverage A, dwelling. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is Coverage D, which under the DP1 basic form provides fair rental value for lost rental income during repairs. Reason A is not correct. This choice is incorrect because Coverage C insures personal property, not lost rental income. Reason C is not correct. This choice is incorrect because Coverage B applies only to other structures, not income loss. Reason D is not correct. This choice is incorrect because Coverage A covers the dwelling itself, not lost rental value. Question 6. A homeowner adds an extended coverage endorsement EC to their fire policy. During a civil disturbance, rioters break windows and gouge exterior siding. Which peril under the endorsement covers the structure damage? A. Explosion. B. Riot. C. Volcanic eruption. D. Windstorm. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is civil commotion, riot, which is one of the perils included in the standard extended coverage endorsement. Reason A is not correct. This choice is incorrect because explosion coverage under EC is limited to internal explosions. Reason C is not correct. This choice is incorrect because volcanic eruption is not included in the standard EC endorsement. Reason D is not correct. This choice is incorrect because although windstorm is covered, the damage in this scenario resulted from civil commotion. Question 7. A tenant moves out of a dwelling covered by a DP1 policy with extended coverage and vandalism and malicious mischief, VMM coverage. The property remains vacant for 75 consecutive days and is then graffitied. Why does the policy deny coverage for the vandalism damage? A. The dwelling was vacant for more than 60 consecutive days before the loss. B. Vandalism coverage requires evidence of forced entry. C. VMM coverage is not available on the DP1 form. D. Graffiti is classified as a pollution loss. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that the policy excludes vandalism if the dwelling has been vacant for more than 60 consecutive days before the loss, as specified in the VMM exclusion. Reason B is not correct. This choice is incorrect because forced entry is not required for vandalism coverage under DP1 VMM. Reason C is not correct. This choice is incorrect because VMM can be added to DP1 with the proper endorsement. Reason D is not correct. This choice is incorrect because graffiti is not treated as a pollution loss under standard policy language. Question 8. A dwelling insured for $100,000 under a DP1 policy includes an automatic increase endorsement, providing a 4% annual pro rata increase. If a loss occurs exactly 6 months into the policy term, what coverage limit applies at the time of loss? A. $102,000. B. $100,000. C. $104,000. D. $98,000. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is $102,000 because the 4% annual increase endorsement prorates to a 2% increase at 6 months. $100,000 multiplied by 1.02. Reason B is not correct. This choice is incorrect because it ignores the automatic increase endorsement. Reason C is not correct. This choice is incorrect because it applies the full 4% increase instead of prorating to 6 months. Reason D is not correct. This choice is incorrect because it incorrectly decreases coverage rather than increasing it. Question 9. Under Texas law, what are the minimum split liability limits, in thousands, that private passenger vehicles must carry? A. 1530 divided by 25. B. 3060 divided by 25. C. 2040 divided by 15. D. 2550 divided by 25. The correct answer is B. The required minimum liability coverage in Texas is $30,000 per person bodily injury, $60,000 per accident bodily injury, and $25,000 property damage. Reason A is not correct. That option reflects lower limits and does not meet Texas statutory requirements. Reason C is not correct. Those figures do not align with the state's mandated minimum liability thresholds. Reason D is not correct. This option offers higher limits than the statutory minimum in Texas. Question 10. Under the personal auto policy Part A liability coverage, which of the following is expressly excluded? A. Liability for injuries caused while operating a non-owned vehicle with permission. B. Punitive damages awarded for insured's gross negligence. C. Medical payments for passengers in the insured vehicle. D. Property damage to property owned by the named insured. The correct answer is D. Liability for damage to property owned by the named insured is expressly excluded under Part A of the personal auto policy. Reason A is not correct. Liability for non-owned vehicles operated with permission is covered under Part A. Reason B is not correct. Punitive damages are generally included unless prohibited by state law. Reason C is not correct. Medical payments coverage is part of Part B, not excluded under Part A. Question 11. In the personal auto policy, which individual qualifies as an insured by virtue of being a relative residing in the named insured's household? A. An adult child living full-time at college while maintaining a residence with the parents. B. A roommate who shares the home rent-free but is not related. C. A spouse temporarily stationed overseas on military duty. D. A hired caregiver who occasionally stays overnight. The correct answer is A. A relative who resides in the named insured's household, including a college student maintaining the home as primary residence, is covered as an insured. Reason B is not correct. Non-relatives living in the household do not qualify as insureds under the PAP definitions. Reason C is not correct. A spouse not residing in the household does not meet the resident relative requirement. Reason D is not correct. Hired workers or caregivers are not defined as insured relatives under the PAP. Question 12. What distinguishes split limits from combined single limit liability coverage in a personal auto policy? A. Split limits allocate separate dollar amounts for bodily injury per person, bodily injury per accident, and property damage. B. Combined single limit applies only to property damage losses. C. Split limits combine all coverages into one aggregate maximum amount. D. Combined single limit requires separate deductibles for each liability category. The correct answer is A. Split limits specify 3 separate maximum amounts, BI per person, BI per accident, PD, whereas a combined single limit provides one overall amount for all liability losses. Reason B is not correct. A combined single limit covers both bodily injury and property damage, not just property damage. Reason C is not correct. Combining coverages into one limit describes a combined single limit, not split limits. Reason D is not correct. Deductibles are not separately required by a combined single limit, which is a coverage limit structure. Question 13. A Texas resident drives her personal vehicle 30 miles south of El Paso and crosses into Mexico for a short errand. Under the limited Mexico endorsement on her PAP, how far south of the U.S. border does her liability coverage apply? A. 50 miles. B. 25 miles. C. 75 miles. D. 100 miles. The correct answer is B. The limited Mexico endorsement on a Texas PAP extends liability coverage only up to 25 miles into Mexico from the U.S. border. Reason A is not correct. Coverage does not extend as far as 50 miles, the limit is more restrictive. Reason C is not correct. Coverage does not reach 75 miles. The endorsement is limited to a shorter radius. Reason D is not correct. Coverage does not extend to 100 miles into Mexico under the limited Mexico endorsement. Question 14. A PAP holder in Texas adds a $5,000 MedPay option following a minor collision. Which expense will MedPay cover regardless of fault? A. Pain and suffering. B. Vehicle repair cost. C. Lost wages. D. Ambulance transport to a hospital. The correct answer is D. MedPay provides first-dollar medical expense coverage such as ambulance services, regardless of fault. It does not cover pain and suffering, income loss, or property damage. Reason A is not correct. Pain and suffering is not a medical expense covered by MedPay. Reason B is not correct. Vehicle repair is a property damage loss, not covered by MedPay. Reason C is not correct. Lost wages are not covered under MedPay. That is a feature of PIP. Question 15. An insurer issues a new PAP in Texas. What must be included in the policy packet regarding personal injury protection PIP under Texas mandatory offer rules? A. Confirmation that PIP coverage is mandatory and cannot be waived. B. Automatic inclusion of PIP coverage at $2,500 per person. C. Notice that PIP is unavailable in Texas. D. A written offer of PIP coverage with the insured's right to reject. The correct answer is D. Texas law requires insurers to offer PIP coverage in writing and provide a waiver form if the insured chooses to reject. PIP is not automatically included and is optional upon offer. Reason A is not correct. PIP is optional upon offer and can be waived by the insured, so it is not mandatory coverage. Reason B is not correct. PIP is not automatically included. It must be offered and may be rejected in writing. Reason C is not correct. PIP is available in Texas, so stating unavailability is incorrect. Question 16. A driver in Texas has UIM coverage with a $50,000 limit. After an accident, the at-fault party's insurer pays $15,000. Under Texas UIM offset rules, how much can the driver claim from her own UIM policy? A. $15,000. B. $65,000. C. $50,000. D. $35,000. The correct answer is D. Texas UIM coverage pays the difference between the insured's damages and the at-fault payment, up to the UIM limit. $50,000 minus the $15,000 liability payment equals $35,000. Reason A is not correct. Recovering only the at-fault payment ignores the UIM difference calculation. Reason B is not correct. The total exceeds the UIM limit. It doesn't add the liability payment back on. Reason C is not correct. Full UIM limits are reduced by the liability payment, so it cannot be the entire limit. Question 17. A named insured's car is in the shop for repairs and a friend lends the named insured her vehicle. Under the PAP's temporary substitute auto provision, who is insured while driving that borrowed car? A. Named insured and spouse, but not other drivers. B. Only the named insured. C. Any person using the substitute auto with permission. D. No one, because the car is not listed on the policy. The correct answer is C. The temporary substitute auto provision extends PAP coverage to anyone operating the borrowed vehicle with the named insured's permission, including permissive users. Reason A is not correct. It is not limited to the insured and spouse. Any permitted user is covered. Reason B is not correct. Coverage extends beyond just the named insured to permissive users. Reason D is not correct. Temporary substitute autos are covered even if not specifically listed. Question 18. A policyholder in Texas purchases a PAP but does not own an automobile, yet rents vehicles frequently. Which coverages apply to those rentals under the non-owner auto endorsement? A. Uninsured motorist coverage only. B. Bodily injury and property damage liability only. C. Collision and comprehensive physical damage. D. Bodily injury and property damage liability plus MedPay. The correct answer is D. A non-owner auto endorsement on a PAP provides liability coverage for rents and MedPay if selected. Physical damage and UM are not automatically included. Reason A is not correct. UM coverage is not included by default in a non-owner endorsement. Reason B is not correct. It omits MedPay, which is available under non-owner endorsement when purchased. Reason C is not correct. Physical damage coverage is not provided under a non-owner endorsement. Question 19. Under a standard HO, 3 homeowners policy, what is the typical limit for coverage D, loss of use, expressed as a percentage of the coverage A, dwelling limit? A. 20%, B. 25%, C. 30%, D. 35%. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is 30% because in an HO3 policy, the loss of use limit, coverage D, is set at 30% of the dwelling coverage amount, coverage A. Reason A is not correct. That percentage understates the standard loss of use limit, which is higher under a typical HO3 form. Reason B is not correct. That percentage is below the established loss of use limit for an HO3 policy, which is set higher. Reason D is not correct. That percentage exceeds the customary loss of use limit in an HO3, which is 30% rather than 35%. Question 20. Which of the following describes the perils insured against for the dwelling and other structures under a standard HO5 policy? A. Named perils for both dwelling and other structures. B. Open perils for dwelling only and named perils for other structures. C. Open perils for both dwelling and other structures. D. Named perils for dwelling only and open perils for other structures. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is open perils for both dwelling and other structures, because the HO5 form extends open peril coverage to both sections A and B. Reason A is not correct. That describes a named perils plan, not the open perils approach of HO5. Reason B is not correct. HO5 does not split perils by section. It grants open peril coverage to both dwelling and other structures. Reason D is not correct. That mix of named and open perils does not reflect the uniform open peril coverage of HO5. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.